On today's show, we've got a full game day preview of tonight's Ottawa Senators matchup against the Vegas Golden Knights.
We'll take a look at some players possibly, hopefully, starting and a game time decision as well.
We'll get into all that. Plus, Claire Hanna joins us to discuss her experience in the first ever Sens game in Utah. That's all coming up on today's Locked On Sens.
This is Brady Tkachuk, and you're listening to the Locked On Senators podcast.
Your Locked On Senators, your daily podcast on the Ottawa Senators.
Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome! You are locked on to the Ottawa Senators, the only daily podcast covering the Sens. On the outskirts of enemy territory, I'm Ross Levitan, alongside Brandon Piller up in the Blue Mountains. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Place your first $5 bet, and you'll get started with $200 in bonus bets. Guaranteed. Just visit FanDuel.com to get started. You can also follow the show on social media. We're at Sens Central on Twitter, LockedOn.Senators on Instagram. You can find us free and available everywhere you get podcasts, including on YouTube, where a like, comment, subscription go a long way to helping the show grow. Today is Friday, October 25th, and Pilsy, let's try this again. I believe that Linus Ullmark will start for the Sens tonight in Vegas.
We need to do some sort of prayer circle ritual between Sens fans. Linus Ullmark will be starting. He will be starting. He will at the very least, Ross, be backing up, which is great to see. And look, Anton Forsberg, though, coming off a pretty hot shutout. I wouldn't panic if Forsberg was starting this game like I felt like panicking when Forsberg was starting the Utah game.
Well, we're recording here at 10:20 a.m. Eastern time, and just an hour and a half ago, the Senators tweeting out that Leevi Meriläinen has been reassigned to the Belleville Senators, so all signs point to Linus Ullmark dressing for tonight's game. Though, they also recalled Cole Reinhardt, who was sent back down right during the first day of this trip, and that's because Shane Pinto is going to be a game-time decision. He was already banged up, missing a couple practices, and then in the last game against Utah, blocked a shot off his foot. So I'm sure he's just kind of all around day to day, but we'll see if Pinto can be in the lineup because we got to keep that stat rolling 29, 15, and 3 when those three centermen are in the lineup.
And Ross, Pinto's stat when he is at 1 point or 2 points? Just 1 point.
Just 1 point. His stats are 7, 2, and 2 when he has 2+ points. But yeah, 42, 10, and 6 in a 58-game sample size when he has at least a point in his career. Definitely an X factor to watch in this game, but looking at the lineups, like I know Vegas is coming off a win against LA and puff pass it around. The LA Kings are an easy team to beat so far early this season, but that to say, you can't take them lightly, but then you look at Vegas's lineup and it's a shell of the team that went to the Stanley Cup final and got their first cup.
Well, Ross, it seems like Vegas got obsessed with big game hunting. Anytime there's a big name out there, they had to get it. You're talking Stone, Eichel, Pietrangelo, Hannafin, Hurdle. Like
even Pacioretty back in the day.
Yep, Pacioretty. And they put so much of their cap space into big top name players. And then they've had to figure out how to shake out the rest of their lineup. Now, I actually think they did a decent job with the limited amount of cap space they had left over filling out their lineup. But this is a very top-heavy team, at least up front. I would argue they're one of the best decors in the league. A lot of depth on that back end. But I think if you can slow down that top line, and we'll get into it when we pull up the lines here, but if you can slow up that top line, you should be able to minimize anything else the rest of the forwards do, in my opinion.
We should also mention tonight is a 6 p.m. Eastern puck drop, which means the Senators potentially could have more wins West Coast than they had all of last year if they can get 2 points tonight. I think it's a holiday in Vegas of some sort, but either way, the Sens have to be ready at puck drop because even though I just said they're a shell of their old selves, they still are very top heavy. And I want to stress that heavy word that you put in there because their top line with Mark Stone and Ivan Barbashev, And then you add in Eichel's speed, and Eichel is a Senators killer too. He's
Yep.
neither of our lookout players. So let's just take a quick
Spoiler
look
alert.
at his career numbers against the Ottawa Senators, where Jack Eichel in 21 games has 31 career points.
How many
against
goals?
Ottawa? 18 goals, 13 goals, 18 assists.
Because I vividly remember it was when he returned from one of his injuries, I forget which one, and they played the Sens and he got 4 goals on him. And it was like, oh God.
Made me absolutely sick. But Pillsy, we're looking at the Ottawa Senators right now, and it's a team that if they play the way they did in the second half of the game against Utah, albeit I know they had a big lead, you play the game a little bit differently, but they were, I think, tighter defensively as the game went on. So that to me was a good sign. Some 5-on-5 offense would be great. I know they had 2 goals 4-on-4 on Tuesday, but I'd like to see at least 3 goals 5-on-5 would be a nice push for the Sens to win this game. Yep, I'm going to get greedy.
Nice, I like it. I don't want to get too much into my keys to victory, Ross, but you're on the right path.
So why don't we pull up the Sens lines? And this was from the game against Utah on Tuesday, because the Senators did practice yesterday. However, we don't want to make any assumptions based on the fact that Shane Pinto was not at practice. So we put a little asterisk.
We've never made assumptions with lineup decisions before, have we, Ross?
We've never made assumptions on this show. It's just not like us, you know?
No,
it couldn't be us. So with that said, the Ottawa Senators expected to have the same top line, Tim Stützle, between Brady Tkachuk and former Vegas Golden Knight Michael Amadio. Second line is Josh Norris with Claude Giroux and Drake Batherson. You've got Shane Pinto between Noah Gregor and Ridley Gregg, and Adam Gaudette centering the fourth line with Nick Cousins and Zach McEwen. As I mentioned, Cole Reinhardt has been called up and will either be the extra or placed in the lineup if Pinto can't go. In that circumstance, yesterday at practice, Ridley Gregg moved over to center on his line. On defense, Jake Sanderson with Travis Hamonic, Thomas Chabot with Nick Jensen, Tyler Clevin with Jacob Bernard-Docker. We already touched on the tendies as well. Linus Ullmark and Anton Forsberg expected to be the 2 in goal. There will be no morning skate because of the 6 p.m. Eastern start, which is 3 p.m. in Vegas. Math guys, Pacific time zone. However, we need a locked-on player from you, Pilsy.
My locked-on player is going to be Nick Jensen. I've been kind of critical of Nick Jensen as of late, and, well, no, before as of late. And lately, I've really liked his game. He had one of the best minute-and-a-half stretches from a defenseman that I've ever seen in last game up against I almost said the Utah Jazz, the Utah Hockey Club. Gets a couple assists, even had a really nice backhand opportunity where he dangled through the neutral zone and was able to get a really good chance. So I think Nick Jensen is really turning into the player, or at least is showing that he can be the player that Ottawa Senators hoped he could be when they acquired him in the Jacob Chikrin trade.
It was the Nick Jensen trade.
Yeah, let's call it the Nick Jensen trade, or the 3rd round pick trade. And he's blocking shots. He's looking smooth out there. He's providing stability for Thomas Chabot. So Nick Jensen, I'm hoping he has another nice game tonight.
5 blocks, 8 hits in 6 games for Jensen this year, averaging just under 20 minutes per game, and he can fly out there. It's great to see. I'm going to take your locked-on player from last game, and there's a reason why I'm going with Michael Amadio, still pointless as an Ottawa Senator, averaging 15-14 per game. But of course, it's a revenge game tonight for Michael Amadio. Just signed from Vegas to Ottawa this summer, so he's going to be going back to his old stomping grounds where he's got some great memories lifting the Stanley Cup. So I think tonight's the night. I mean, you're playing with Timmy and Brady for the 3rd consecutive game. It's time to put a couple points up on the board. So I'm going to go big here. I'm going to call a 2-point performance for Michael Amadio. I think tonight's a night. If Ottawa's 5-on-5 offense can get something done, I think that top line is going to have a lot to do with it. And therefore, maybe 1-1 tonight for Michael Amadio. I think that could be even a key to victory for the Senators to get this guy going, because I know that he's good away from the puck. He's got great underlying numbers, the Corsi, the expected goals. Everything's looking good for Michael Amadio, except for the counting stats where he's still sitting at zeros with a -3 rating. So I'm going to be locked on tonight to Michael Amadio.
Nice. I like it. Yeah, Ross, let's get some meathead stats for Amadio. That's why he was my locked on player last game. I want to see some good old-fashioned goals and assists, but once you do some digging and peel back the layers, his advanced analytics are pretty good. So yeah, let's get some stats for the meatheads here for Michael Amadio.
Yeah,
Easy ones.
only 2 blocks, 3 hits so far this year. Had 48 hits last year and 56 in the year before. He played a total of 163 games with the Vegas Golden Knights, 41 goals in 193 games. I was looking at his LA stats. Good job, Ross. 72 points for Michael Amadio, 41 goals with the Vegas Golden Knights. So we will be locked on to him in this game tonight. Okay, Pilsy, we've got a pretty tough opponent. You can't take this team lightly.
Yes, sir.
And we're going to do our best to preview them next. You're listening to Locked On Senators, your team every day.
Today's episode is brought to you by our friends over at PrizePicks. PrizePicks is the best place to get real money sports action. With over 10 million members and billions of dollars in awarded winnings, PrizePicks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. You just pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win up to 100 times your cash. Run your game all season long on PrizePicks. You heard me right, guys. You can win up to 100 times your money on PrizePicks with as little as 4 correct picks. You can sign up and get $50 instantly when you play $5. Best part is you don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. PrizePicks is the best way to win real money this football season. Do you know which players are about to go off? Which players are about to have a down game? Well, make your picks in less than 60 seconds and turn your sports opinion into real money all season long on PrizePicks. Download the app today and use code LOCKEDONNHL to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Download the app, use code LOCKEDONNHL for $50 when you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, run your game.
All right, Pilsy, we got a big one tonight for the Ottawa Senators, who sit 4-2-0 on the season, and the out-of-town scoreboard was delicious last night. Regulation losses for Tampa, Toronto, and Boston. So this is the type of game where you got to take a step forward in the standings. This is an opportunity where nobody else really, I believe, in the Atlantic Division is playing tonight. So you have an opportunity here to steal 2 points. I'm going to call it stealing 2 points because Ottawa has only won twice out of 11 games against the Vegas Golden Knights, or 12, right? Yeah, 12 games against Vegas. So this would be a nice one to get, even just for the confidence and showing like, hey, this is a different Senators team. We're not always going to lose to the same teams. I'm going to feel the same way when they play Carolina too. Just teams the Senators have had no luck beating. Give me a key to victory, and then we'll get into the Vegas Golden Knights team.
All right, key to victory, Ross. You alluded to it, talking about 5-on-5 scoring, but I'm gonna shift that narrative to a different perspective. The key to victory is going to be discipline for the Ottawa Senators, because we all know the Ottawa Senators have a very good power play. Well, the Vegas Golden Knights also have a very good power play. So the Sens are second in the league with 40.9%. You'll love to see that. And then Vegas fourth in the league with 36.8%. So clearly, when these two teams get on the power play, they can do damage. Neither of them has a particularly good penalty kill. Sens at 16th at 77.8 and Vegas at 21st at 76.5. So clearly they're better at putting the puck in with the man advantage than keeping it out when they're down a man. But the big difference here, Ross, is the Vegas Golden Knights don't take a lot of penalties. They're 29th in the league in penalties taken, with only 16 penalties so far. So if you're going to be the Ottawa Senators, you have to really play a clean game so that you don't give Vegas the opportunity to go on the power play. And you got to play a clean game because Vegas doesn't typically take penalties, or at least this season. So you're going to have to find ways to do it 5-on-5. So for me, the discipline is going to be a very big part of this team having success tonight.
In their 6-1 win against the LA Kings the other night, they went 2 for 2 on the power play and 4 for 4 on the PK. 4 penalties or penalty kills is the most they've had in a game this season. They've had 3 twice, and otherwise they've been keeping it clean with 2 or less in all their other games. So I'm with you on that one. I'm looking, though, at putting pressure on Adin Hill. Even though he's got a pedigree of being a Stanley Cup champion, hasn't been the perfect season for them. They're right in the middle of the pack at goals against per game. They're actually tied with the Ottawa Senators, just a little ahead, actually. They're at 3 goals against per game. So this isn't the staunch defensive team that you'd expect when you look at their D-core, which we'll do in a second, that has some heavy hitters on it for sure, and guys who have been known for years to keep pucks out of dangerous areas. So take advantage of your opportunities and try to create some rebounds on Adin Hill if he does in fact start.
I was gonna say, you've just guaranteed that Ilya Samsonov start.
I want that. Give it to me. Of course, if people are following along, Samsonov is not a fan of Linus Ullmark because they got into it on Twitter. I guess they didn't really get into it. Samsonov just took shots.
And it was, didn't he just reply like a heart emoji on Ullmark's poster? The whole thing was just weird.
No, I got it right here. They put Linus Ullmark as the 10th best goalie in the league, and Ilya Samsonov commented on it, which has he put number 10 with a heart, and then he put November 21st, keep your ass shut, or are you injured again?
Yeah, I remember talking about this because we were like, he knows they play before November 21st as well. Was that a cryptic message by Samsonov being like, I know I'm not starting that game?
I guess so. So I guess Samsonov's confirmed that he's not playing tonight in August.
Yeah. I guess, yeah, he really called a shot there. But Vegas does have a back-to-back, Ross. They play the San Jose Sharks tomorrow. So it'll be interesting to see what mindset they have. Are they going to put the backup up against the Sens, the league's #1 backup placement?
Not this year.
Team,
we haven't had a backup yet.
No, we haven't.
So Samsonov, come on out, buddy. Come here, Samsonov. Ottawa had his number when he was in Toronto too, except for I think he had one really good game against Ottawa, but a couple really bad ones.
He's had a good year so far, Ross Samsonov, as he's easily the better goalie of the two in 3 starts, 2 wins, 1 overtime loss, a 1.95 goals against, and a 944 save percentage. So I'm not sure we want to be baiting Samsonov here like we are.
Well, let's look at the Vegas Golden Knights projected roster for tonight's game against the Sens. Jack Eichel, top line center between Ivan Barbashev and Mark Stone. You got Tomas Hertl between Brett Howden and Pavel Dorofiev. You've got Cole Schwindt between Brendan Brisson and Alexander Holtz, and Nicolas Roy between Tanner Pearson and Keegan Colasar. On the back end, it is Noah Hannafin with Alex Pietrangelo, Braden McNabb with Shea Theodore, Nicholas Hague with Zach Whitecloud. We already discussed the goalies Hill and Samsonov. Pilsy, your lookout player to watch tonight.
My lookout player for tonight is going to be Ivan Barbashev. In 7 games this year, he's been lighting it up. He leads the Vegas Golden Knights in goals with 5. But he's not just a goal merchant, Ross. He's dishing it too. He's got 4 assists, so 9 points in 7 games. He's a +5 rating, and obviously this isn't sustainable. But he's shooting at a 35.7% clip right now. So if he's got an opportunity with time and space, especially when he's got teammates like Eichel or line mates, I should say, and Eichel and Stone, you got to be watching out for Barbashev. So I will be not watching out for him, Ross. I will be looking out for Barbashev.
And he kills guys too, right? He's physical. He creates loose pucks. And when you've got such other skill guys on your line, that just becomes even more important. Barbashev's got 9 hits so far in the early going this year. He does have 6 giveaways to only 1 takeaway, though, and that shooting percentage is so unsustainable at 36%. So hopefully we can get that down a couple notches today. I'm going to go with the recently re-signed Shea Theodore, who didn't play against the LA Kings due to a nagging injury. He's expected to be back in the lineup tonight. He's started out real hot with 7 points in his first 6 games, although a lot of them came in the first couple of games of the season. Had 3 assists in the opener and 2 points in the second game of the season. So just 2 points in his last 4 games, -3 over that standpoint as well. And both of them came in the same game, a loss to Tampa. But you always have to be aware when he's on the ice. He's a big part of their power play as well. So I'm going to be looking out for Shea Theodore, who's averaging just under 22 minutes a game, but the shot share is way in the opponent's favor when he's on the ice. So that makes me think that look, this is a night where I know I said the top line's got to get going, but if you don't get those matchups, that Norris line is going to have an opportunity against McNabb and Theodore to do some damage in the offensive zone. Theodore, I mean, historically, he's been good at both ends of the ice, but it looks like in the early going this year, it's been more of an offensive mind for Theodore. Maybe he's looking to get that cash, eh? Now he's got it. Maybe he'll settle back down defensively, but all jokes aside, it was a contract that he certainly earned. 7 years, $51.9 million. It's an annual average of $7.4 million. Now, Theodore's he's already 29 years old, and this kicks in next year, obviously, but we're going to be looking out for him in this game.
Yep, that's a solid deal for both the team and the player, I would say. Fair value all around. Ross,
were we both still too hurt to go with Mark Stone, who has 12 points in 7 games? This guy is just unstoppable. Every time it's like, oh, he's going to be hurt, he's going to miss time. But every time Mark Stone plays, he impacts the game just like he used to.
Do you have his hockey ref opened up? How does he do against Ottawa?
Too good.
Really?
Let's see. Yeah, 9 points in 5 games against Ottawa.
Oh man, yeah. Okay, that's
plus
tough.
8.
Yeah,
plus 8 with 0 penalty minutes. That's the Mark Stone stat line for you right there. Hey, should we call up Hayden Hodgson from Belleville for this one?
Yeah, Mark Stone would love that.
That would have been hilarious if instead of Cole Reinhardt, they went with him. It's a little callback to a few preseasons ago where Howden rocked Mark Stone, and Stone gave him the old National League post-game press conference, being like, we don't know who he is, and we're never going to see him again.
Well, and Stone lost his mind. As soon as that hit happened, he was like, I'm not in a NHL arena playing hockey. We're on the streets, and this guy just disrespected me. I'm going right for him. And his wires crossed, and he went nuts. But yeah, Mark Stone, good player.
Mark Stone, very good hockey player for sure. And I like him for 80 games of the season. Hopefully tonight's one of his struggles, which I highly doubt. Okay, Pillsy, we got a great interview coming up with Claire Hanna, who's nice enough to join us coming off her trip to Utah. So let's have a quick break, get to that, and wrap up the show on the other side. You're listening to Locked On Senators, your team every day.
Today's episode is brought to you by our friends over at FanDuel. Guys, you can start the season off with a big return on FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same place where you place your bets. New people can get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. And Ross, I'm on FanDuel.com right now, looking at the odds between Ottawa Senators at Vegas Golden Knights. The Senators are plus 122 on the money line. The over-under set at 6.5. Maybe I'm crazy, Ross, but I might drop a couple shekels on that Sens money line. I'm feeling good about tonight's game.
You might be alone on that one, buddy.
That's fair, because I've got a hunch, and when you've got a hunch, you got to take it to FanDuel.com. So check it out today, guys. FanDuel.com.
All right, we're now joined by one of our favorite recurring guests. For the 4th time, it's TSN reporter Claire Hanna, a jet setter, just back from Utah. How are you doing today, Claire?
I'm awesome. I feel like I'm in a Utah hangover, like I'm still thinking about it. It was so great.
Are you allowed to get hangovers in Utah?
Dirty soda hangovers.
You have to plan it with the right amount of food, make sure your ID's there, make sure you're at the right time and you order the right stuff. Yeah, no, it is actually really hard to get a hangover in Utah.
So you've been all over the country, all over both the continent. What kind of culture change is there in Utah? Was it noticeably different than some of the other stops on the NHL tour?
Yeah, it's subtle though. So I'll give an example. When we got there, we were doing a crew dinner and we were going to this cute little Italian joint that was pretty close to actually the Delta Center. And you walk in and it's kind of got a bit of a cafeteria vibe, because I'd say normally in restaurants, especially an Italian place, you're going to have wine bottles displayed somewhere. There's a bar, there's, maybe bar taps, whatever. There's no bar. So I actually walked in and on every table, it was like just glasses of water. so that was all really interesting. No napkins folded with like wine glasses ready to go. I mean, you could order wine, but it definitely wasn't something that's advertised or that's even the norm. And then even the bars, I didn't see any actual bars, but there was one bar across from our hotel that I thought would be a bar, but it's advertised that way, but it's actually a restaurant. And so they've got all the Miller Lite, Budweiser, neon signs outside, but then you go in and you realize that it's food. And it's funny, I was joining some people from our crew there, and they had dinner and they were also having beers. And I went to just have a beer, and I got away with just ordering a beer because I'd already had dinner. But apparently you're supposed to order food with drinks. Like, it's real. And so I don't know how I got away with it. They're like, maybe you just look like a wholesome Mormon girl. So, and I only had one, but yeah, they limit. And this is one other thing. I had to finish my beer before ordering another one. So they wouldn't just allow you to multiply it. You couldn't just kind of get the shots going on the table. You had to finish one before your next one. Those are the big things I noticed.
Didn't they say something about a record-breaking amount of beer sales at the home opener, though?
Yes.
So people are just doing it very efficiently, like making sure they finish it, then they get the next one. No double fisting or anything, Ross. No Lake Levitan. You can't be spilling that stuff.
No.
Yeah, I think so. The previous record was in 1993, I think, when the Delta Center originally opened. And yeah, on October 8th, they broke liquor sales at the Delta Center, which I find so funny. I love it, though.
Well, with that, the hockey fans there, you could tell on the TV, very passionate, chanting, having fun. What was the atmosphere inside the arena?
Yeah, it was good. It was, I wish, that Utah had scored so that you could see them explode with excitement. Oh, yeah, I know you guys don't. But I wanted to see.
We were asking Claire, do you know what the Utah goal horn sounds like? Because we don't.
Yeah, I know. I don't either. I know, and I guess that's definitely what Anton Forsberg and all the Senators wanted. But I was looking forward to that, and it was a really passionate crowd. And I noticed, actually, it was in my chats with some of the Utah players in the morning. So I was talking to Dylan Gunther, because he's a good Canadian kid, about just what it was like to play in Utah. This was at morning skates. And he said that the crowd was really interesting and curious, but they were funny because they'd ask, like after games when he had interactions with fans, they'd be asking pretty simple questions that he'd never received, like what's icing? What's a power play? Things that were he'd never really had to explain before. But he said, I appreciate it because I like that this fan base is trying to get to know hockey. They want to know the rules. They want to know when it's appropriate to cheer. So then Kyler Yamamoto was another player that we were chatting with. And he said, he wouldn't give an example, but he said sometimes the fans would cheer at weird times. And I was like, well, when? And he couldn't really remember at what points, but I don't know. I like that though. I'd prefer a fan base that was really excited and cheering all the time than a fan base that was just really quiet and not doing anything. So I like that. And it was packed too. It was, and right beside me, guys, I got starstruck. Allie Raisman walked in. And do you guys know who that is?
No, sorry.
Oh, okay. She's okay. You're going to Google her and you're going to be like, oh yeah, I know who she is now. She's an Olympic, like multiple time Olympic gold medalist for Team USA gymnastics.
Okay,
and she's,
nice.
She's like, her besties are like Simone Biles and Gabby Hughes, those players or athletes. So she walked in and I'm like, oh my gosh, I think that's Allie Raisman. And she was sitting close to where I was positioned. And I like that because I'm like, okay, everybody in this city is embracing it. The head coach of the Utah Jazz was there, and that was opening night for the NBA. And they're playing there the next night. So I think it was a hockey night, a basketball night, and a hockey night, another basketball night. So Delta Center should be busy right now.
Well, I want to touch on that. Is when you were there for the hockey game, did you get the feel like this is a little bit of a weird setup? I know there's the one area on the one end of the rink where you can't see that side at all because you're just so elevated. And obviously we know the Islanders, when they tried to do the arena share with the Brooklyn Nets, the Jumbotron wasn't centered. So was there a bit of a vibe like that? Like, oh, this is a hockey rink in a basketball stadium?
Yeah, and it was the first thing I thought of when I walked in was how vertical it is. Because usually hockey arenas are just kind of slowly, like the seats go back at a consistent angle. And this was a consistent angle too, but it was just much more skyrockety. I felt like I was almost in more of a coliseum, if that makes sense. And I wanted to make sure I took in some of these viewpoints to see my perspective. So just ahead of the game, I did a lap of the concourse, and on the, right behind the net, I was pretty high up. I couldn't see even where the goalie would be. Yeah. But what I did is I actually leaned forward and then I could see it. So every seat actually could get a view.
Oh, so people are just complaining.
I know. I actually, and I should tweet about that, because I wasn't even leaning forward that much before I could see it. And it is annoying because everybody would be leaning forward. And I'm not sure if you've got lots of people in front of you, if everybody leans forward, if you can see past those people, because it was, again, before warmups even started. The other thing, and I didn't have this perspective, but on the way back, one of my friends who's a big Sens fan was on the same flight. He had seats 14 rows right behind the Sens bench. And he said from his perspective, he couldn't even see the players on the bench.
Oh, weird.
Whoa.
And he was like center ice, you guys, 14 rows up. And that I thought was so strange, because I could see these people in the arena and I would have expected they'd be able to see the benches, but that was pretty dramatic. And I guess it's funny, at morning skate, now that I think of it, I was probably sitting in the same position. I thought I could see the benches, but they had some big, I don't know what it was, behind the benches, almost like big, not stanchions, but big boards. So maybe that was it. And if you just kind of cleared those boards out, you might be able to see the benches. But I thought it was still really unique, you guys. Like, I go into that place and I thought it was tight. It felt like a living room where you're just watching with all your buds. You're all in there kind of like cozy. So I mean, I think it's great. But I have heard that somebody at Morning Skate said they're going to be blowing out 2 of the walls to try to expand it behind the nets, right. Which makes sense to me.
Yeah,
but
I mean,
for the moment.
Yeah, they were living in fast forward, having to figure out how to get this team there from April and be ready for opening night. Claire, really appreciate the boots on the ground report. Final question from me. You got to speak with Anton Forsberg after the game. I know you love athletes' personal stories. So a guy who's battled so much adversity like Forsy, what was it feeling like being able to chat with him after such a high?
Oh, man, he was just glowing. And also, normally I talk to the guys, like they go into the locker room for a little bit and then they come back out. But the way we did it, this with our broadcast, we got him like he was walking off. He like put his mitts down or whatever, and then he came back over. So it was right after he got off the ice, and he was just like, he was proud of himself, which he should be, but he was feeling like, yeah, I had a bounce back game. I think he even said that in the interview. He was like dripping sweat. I mean, he just got off the ice. I was really happy for him, because sometimes I do think it takes you a while to get back into the swing of things, and he would have been mentally preparing for a totally different approach this year, right? Because last year he's thinking, okay, probably splitting time with Korpisalo, who knows, 1-2 punch. But this year it's like, okay, I'm going in, as a backup. And I'm sure goalies, though, are always thinking, okay, I might have to start every game, because you never know with injuries. But to me, that's probably a bit of a mental hurdle to overcome. But yeah, he was so pumped after that. But in a way that was, I'd say, a little bit of relief. There was some relief on his face too, just to make sure he remembers that, yeah, that's the way I can play.
Yeah, it was great to see Forsy shut the door there. But like you mentioned, it was a bit of an unexpected start, because everybody, including us, was expecting Linus Ullmark to start. Can you take us through that morning? Because it seemed like he was poised to start, and then he's not even practicing its emergency call-up. Like, what happened that morning that you're aware of?
Okay, actually, I made sure to have a little chat with Linus. So morning skate, Linus is out there. Linus Ullmark was out at practice. I'm just trying to take my brain back. But Anton Forsberg was also out there. We weren't sure who was going to play. And then right after, I knew that Travis Green kind of wanted to get ahead of it. So the first thing he said when we asked about lineups was mentioned that it was going to be Anton starting in net, and then that Merlinan had been called up.
Mhm.
And we were in the locker room. I think we just talked to Nick Jensen. Lots of guys had already kind of scattered, but I noticed that Linus Ullmark was still out on the ice. So he practiced the full hour, you guys, on the ice. And then when he came into the locker room, I just was like, hey, for a broadcast, what can I tell the fans? And he's like, honestly, it's really positive. He said that he just, yesterday at practice, which was the Monday before the game, he wanted to just really see how he felt. And he felt that it might be better to have one more day to practice and not get in the net. And I was like, I think, just so fans are really concerned. And he said, because I haven't played in a while, I just want to, and I wrote this down. I almost want to get my notebook out to make sure I'm quoting this exactly. But he said, practice is never going to be like a game. And he wanted to make sure he got just a couple full speed practices under his belt before he got back into a game, because it had been a while since he'd kind of maybe re-aggravated that strain against Montreal, which is now almost 2 weeks ago. But he'd only had, I think, one full practice. So he just wanted to get a couple. So that's all the information I got from him. But he really did say everything's positive. Like, nobody should worry. And to his point, it's like, you guys, this is the number one goaltender for the Senators. You don't want to lose him for months because you're reckless with how he's approaching this. And you've gotten a couple of wins with Anton Forsberg, which is what an organization should expect. So I don't think anybody should be super worried, because he's just being cautious. He wants to be with this team, hopefully for a playoff run. So just take care of your body.
Well said, Claire. I'd say we can leave it at that, but I do have a final question. How's it feel not being the biggest star in your own household anymore now that Hank is out there mugging it up with Drake Batherson's dog, Linus Ullmark's dog? That has to be one of the funnest segments that you've been able to do, is it not?
I love it. I love that Hank's the star. Okay, he can take that. He can be the little celeb in the household.
Was that an easy one to pitch to your bosses? Hey, I just want to go walk my dog.
I know. I actually wasn't the one who came up with the idea. It was. I don't know if I should reveal this, but I'll do it. Whoa. It was actually Ian Mendez, Sens PR staff, who came up with the idea. He's like, Claire, there's so many guys on the team with dogs. I know you have a dog that you love. He's like, maybe we can do this to try to get to know players. And I'm like, I'm all for this. It was just a matter of getting the first, and we had some schedule conflicts. So I don't know. I guess I'm giving you guys a little bit of a scoop.
Friend of the show.
Yeah. I know that Thomas Chabot is really keen. He's got a golden retriever. Nice. And we thought he might be the first one, but things in the schedule just kept falling through. So, and then we also thought we were going to get Drake, and then something fell through with him. And then, you know what? We had planned it for a Tuesday, but we found out early that morning that one of those players couldn't do it. And we just thought, let's just go ask Linus. We know he's got a dog. And on the spot, he's like, yeah, this afternoon, want to meet at 2 at this park? I'm like, okay. Like, what a cool guy. Awesome. Just hadn't even been pitched the idea and agreed on the spot. So getting Linus to do it and getting the guys to realize this is just going to be a really chill, really soft segment where fans can get to know you in a different way off of the ice. That was kind of the pitch. And I love doing it. It's so fun.
It's so fun. Fans are really enjoying it. So keep up the good work, Claire. Really appreciate you jumping on, giving us a little inside view from your time in Utah. And we look forward to seeing you again down the road.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
All right, Pillsy. We got to give some stick taps to Claire for joining us. Really fun conversation with her. And if you want more fun from Claire, go check out her Twitter. She's posted both of the features we discussed with Bobby and Bob, both dogs that she's taken out so far named Bob.
And then Drake's nickname is Bobby as well. So lots of Bobs here. Ross, and it's been great having Claire Hanna on the show. But I think next time we'll interview the real star. We'll just have Hank show up on the chair, and we'll chat with him about how he feels about meeting other teammates' dogs.
That'll be a lot of deep insight, I'm sure. Hey, if you want some more insight, check out yesterday's episode with Jason Demers. Really good conversation, actually. We went in being like, what's this guy going to be like? Is he going to be a clown? No, it turns out he's actually a beauty. So Great conversation with Jason Demers. We've also got the postcast tonight. Pilsy
Yep.
and Jack will be steering the ship.
Let's go.
Jack's going for his first 2-game win streak in postcast history. So that's all coming up tonight after the game. Again, it's a 6 o'clock Eastern puck drop in Vegas. Pilsy, any final thoughts on today's show?
Yes, final thoughts for me is the Belleville Senators are up against the Toronto Marlies tonight in Toronto at Coca-Cola Coliseum. But more importantly, they also play the Marlies tomorrow night at CAA Arena. Ross, you and I know all too well when the Marlies play Belleville in Belleville. Unfortunately, just like the CTC, CAA Arena is covered in blue. So please, the people in the Bay of Quinte, head to the game, rock your black or red Belleville Senators jersey, and cheer loud for the boys.
And if you have goalie equipment, bring it, because you might be on the bench. But I'd imagine they knew yesterday. My guess is Levy flew back yesterday night. Now, will he play today? The last time they sent down a goalie and he played the next game, he got hurt.
I don't think he should play tonight. I think they should save him.
Though?
Yeah, back up and save him for the home game.
Okay, so Michael Simpson then would be getting his first AHL start. So that's something to look for later tonight. Looking forward to all that. Looking forward to a potential 3-game win streak for the Ottawa Senators as they take on Vegas later tonight. For today, we say goodbye. Please leave a comment letting us know your locked on player to watch. A like, comment, and review on Apple go a long way to helping the show grow. We really appreciate everybody for liking, listening, watching, subscribing to the podcast. For today, though, we say goodbye. We'll chat in the postcast tonight after tonight's game. We've also got the game Sunday too, so we'll be back Sunday, but we'll chat before then later this evening. That's Brandon Piller. I'm Ross Levitan. This has been another edition of the Locked On Senators podcast. Your team every day.